our children, or they assumed I homeschooled so I could protect them from the world or shelter them from the world. That's the farthest from the truth. The reason I homeschooled was because when I was younger, I actually went to good schools. They were Catholic schools, good education, good teachers. But I found myself sitting in classrooms all day long, bored to tears, being taught things I thought were inaccurate. Even as a young kid, I just in my gut knew, how do they know this, or why is it so factual? They weren't very open-minded as to say, this is what we think right now. It may not be 100% true, or things may change. But I just felt like, because I read a lot, everything from National Geographic to you name it. My mother was always very open-minded to all the possibilities that are in the world, and not just what's in this one chapter. And that was the other thing. For example, history. Today we find out our history books were pretty inaccurate or just didn't give the full story. For example, sometimes World War II would be discussed in like a chapter or two, very, very little amount, and that wasn't, there was so much more. Anyway, so I felt like I could have learned more, and I did learn more from my own mother, father, siblings, traveling. Boy, if you could travel, that's probably one of the best ways to get an education. Getting viewpoints from people from around the world, even if you don't travel, if you can. Nowadays, there's no excuse not to get viewpoints from around the world because you have the internet and everybody's on YouTube. So it's nice to have discussions with people. I said, if I ever had kids, I'm going to teach them at home. I did not know homeschool was a thing, and it was actually kind of new still back in the 70s, and not a lot of people did it. Rick and I were married in 1994. Then I was getting older, and I'm like, well, if we're going to have kids, and maybe we should have them before getting any older. So I was about 32 when I had Willow, and 34 or so when I had Noah. But before we got married, I had this discussion with Rick, and I said, if we have kids, are you okay with homeschooling them? By that point, I had more of an inkling of what it was about. Not much, but I knew that it was allowed, it was a thing. He's like, if you think it's a good idea, he never really thought about it. He's like, that sounds all right. And both of us had good school experiences, so it wasn't like we were bullied or we, didn't like school as far as the teachers or anything else like that. So the babies were born, and the funny thing is, I realize babies learn and children learn all the time. You can't say they're being schooled from 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock or 8 o'clock to 2 o'clock, whatever the school hours are. So I think it's kind of weird for me. I know it's not weird for you folks who send your kids to school, but when you folks ask a homeschooler, when does your kid go on vacation, or is your kid learning? And our kids have always learned from the time they were born and breathing every minute. I've seen it from them crawling to walking to realizing what colors were, and I didn't have to set up a curriculum to do it. They were naturally learning, which I just think was amazing. So being, a first-time mom to a first child and the second child, and I was like, boy, when the time comes, we're definitely going to homeschool. So time came, Willow became of age for first grade. By law, at least in Ohio, where we lived, you don't have to go to kindergarten. I think first grade was mandatory. But I read every book I can get a hold of. I was getting books like John Holt. He's one of the authors I can remember. But if you go to the library and just ask for some homeschooling books, or go online and order homeschooling books. You could even look on Amazon. You could purchase them on Amazon or look for that title at the library. The thing about homeschooling is there are many ways to do it. And everyone has a reason to homeschool. Ours was not a religious reason. Many people homeschool because of religious reasons, and that's fine. We mainly did it for freedom, the time it takes to get your kid ready for school, get them to school, and they sit around waiting for attendance. And then they're waiting around because some kid's getting in trouble and the teacher's scolding, and then they're standing in line, and then from classroom to classroom, and people think that's socialization. Or, your 15-minute of recess is your socialization, and then lunchtime. There's not a lot of socialization as far as that goes, unless you're talking through the classroom. I personally have found that our kids have been very socialized with people of all ages, which was what I wanted. I wanted them to spend time with grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, neighbors, people we run across, learn how real life is, going to the grocery store, knowing how much things cost, budgeting. You have this much amount of money, how much can we buy? And then, the kids are like, well, there's a coupon for this or that, so we can get more. So they learn things like that, like real life experiences. People that ask us, is your kid on vacation? Our kids are never really on vacation and always on vacation because they're enjoying their life. They're learning what they want to learn, but still fitting in all those subjects that are mandatory by the state. Different states have different rules as far as what they expect. In Ohio, and now we're in Florida, we have an instructor who checks their portfolio once a year of what they've done for the year. We did not test our children, and people say, oh my gosh, you don't test your kids? How do you know they're learning? Well, I talk to my kids. I have conversations with them, in-depth conversation, philosophical conversation. So I know they know what they're talking about, and that's how I know. I will say the one thing that we did do, if you want to call it part of a curriculum, was for math. Like Khan's Academy is just one of them. Khan's Academy, I think it's .org. There's other sites where they can actually go through like a program, and the computer kind of tells them if it's right or wrong, or teaches them how to do. So once you get to algebra and so forth, that you as a parent don't know, you don't have to worry because this information is online. So, and then summer comes along and they're still learning. They read because they love to read. They write because they want to write. We go to museums. We go to different parks. We learn about the animals that might be in the particular area, and so much more. Cooking for small children, that's how they learn their measurements. A quarter cup of this, a teaspoon of this, how many, cups equals this or that. So they just naturally learn. So, yeah, they just learn naturally. Now, I understand if you're a first-time homeschool or thinking about homeschooling for the first time, it's a little scary. And I was slightly a little scared. Like, I wanted to make sure my kids were learning everything that they needed to know. I didn't want them to be behind. And so what I did for Willow for the first year, we signed up for the free, it's a public online school. It was Connections Academy. There's also K12.com, I think it is. And it's free. And I remember they gave us a free computer, a free printer for the year, free books. They mailed everything. So we did that for the year. And I felt like we were in school again, sitting at the table with these books and doing homework that I thought was waste of time. I felt there was a much better way to learn rather than to rewrite something over and over and over and over again which was boring for everybody, aggravating, irritating, frustrating. So after the first year, Willow did great. She was always very studious, so it was fine. But I knew the following year, I said, we're going to go on our own, and no, we're not following any particular curriculum. And so we just started learning, and I joined many online homeschooling groups. That's how I learned a lot. I got a lot of information from the other homeschooling moms. Some dads, most of them were moms. And they'd say, go to this website or that website. And a lot of it was learning, especially when they were small, through video games, educational video games. And it was fun to learn. It didn't feel like you were in school, but they learned leaps and bounds. It was just wonderful. And then as they got older, we just let them learn even more on their own. They were picking out their own books and what they were interested in, and just really getting into it, delving into a topic. And once you're into one topic, that one topic could lead you into all of those subjects that you need for school. The science and the history and the religion, or I guess you don't have religion in public schools, but the social studies, spelling, just from reading and writing, taking notes because they wanted to. Willow is a writer. Hopefully we'll get her published soon. She's been writing novels since she was like 5. Willow graduated at the age of 15 years old, and because she's so young, we decided she should go to the local college. It's SCF in Venice, Florida. She's on their honor society, Phi Theta Kappa honor society, as you saw in a different video that I made. So she's doing really well. She loves it. And she continues, writing is her number one passion, but she'll be studying anthropology and linguistics. And Noah prefers to learn hands-on. He'll be graduating. He turned 14 yesterday. He'll be graduating in 2 years from now at 16. And he hasn't decided yet if he's going to college or tech school, or if he'll be joining Rick in the boating business or starting his own business. He's very people-friendly. So I think we need to find what your kid is interested in and follow their passion, because you want them to grow up doing something they love to do. For example, even say they're a musician, but they're not a great singer, they're not a great musician. There's no reason they still can't get into the music field doing something. They don't have to be the musician. They might be the manager or marketer in that field, so they could be around something they love to do. That's something that parents flip out about, like, oh my gosh, my kid wants to be a dancer, my kid wants to be a musician, he wants to be an artist. Work experience is one of the best teachers. And like I said, if you have the money, if your child could study abroad, volunteer, you could try to push your kid all you want. If they're not the book person that you want them to be, there's nothing you could do about it. You can't force them to learn something they don't want to learn. Now, since I was 5, when I was in kindergarten, I remember playtime, I was selling shoes at the little kiosk that they had, and flowers or whatever they had. I'd set up a little stand. I always knew I loved business, but I didn't know the word business. I didn't know that's what I was doing. I thought I was just playing. Even at home, I come from a family of 8 kids, and I used to, all my siblings except for one are older than me, so I would charge them, a quarter to make their lunches or a quarter to clean their bathtub. I was always making money. Bye. I love you, folks. See you soon. Big kisses, hugs. You're so cute. Love that dog. Yes, I love you. I guess I'm speaking to those of you with babies, or you don't have babies yet, you're going to have a kid, and you're already thinking about it. That's how parents are these days. They're worrying about things that are going to happen 10 years from now. And Something that I learned, and I'm going to share this with you, is don't spend hundreds or thousands of dollars on curriculum. If you're really, really worried, start off with the first year free, that online public um, school. I'm sure there's others, but those are the two that I know of, the K-12 and Connections Academy. And if you feel comfortable enough, you could use Khan's Academy. It's free. You can register, sign up, and they have for first grade, kindergarten, first grade, second, and they have all the way through college, like classes for even you as a parent, if you want to learn something, technical things, anything you want to know. And it keeps track of everything you've done, how many minutes, and it has little tests after it. So that, I like that, because then you could show your instructor at the end of the year, the person who's evaluating what your child has done for the year. So it's an easy way to show them what you've done. Of course, our kids went to the art center, they volunteered at the library. So, having them in activities, find what your kid likes. And if you're worried about more socialization with kids your own age, there's all kinds of teams. You could check with your school. I do believe that your child can join the school's team. There's no reason to say that you're not going to homeschool because you're worried about socialization. There's enough socialization to go around a million times over. Some of the unexpected results that I've gotten from homeschooling was that we are so much closer with our children than I ever thought. They could tell us anything. We could talk about anything. Willow and Noah are like best friends. We do projects together. Willow will teach Noah things that he doesn't know. Not because she's sitting him down to teach him. It's because she's like writing a story, for example. And whatever the topic is, she'll talk to him for about an hour on what she's writing and on the topic. And then he's learning from listening to her. And then sometimes she might have a computer issue and he goes and helps her with that. And then she learns. So they kind of teach each other by just being with each other. And we are a very close family. And I know soon Willow will be going off to college. I think the next 2 years she has. You okay, Cookie? I think Willow will be going to UF after she's done here at SEF. She wants to get her master's and then her doctorates. Life has its own plan for you. You can plan all you want, but it's going to kind of go its own way. And with Noah, we'll see. We don't like to plan too far ahead because things change. We're here in Florida. We absolutely love it, but I could end up in Switzerland for all I know. If Willow decides to move there, I'm probably going to want to be near my kids, or at least visit for a few months. I can't imagine my life without them. But I know parents face this every day where they're moving out, and I could tell you from beginning to this far that it's been the best experience we've ever done. There's no regrets. And I did tell the kids, if you ever want to go to school, you can go. I never said that you couldn't go. They were like, why would we want to go? I'm got made here doing our thing, enjoying, life. And so the really cool thing about homeschooling is you could travel when everybody else is in school. And that's the other thing about having home-based businesses or online businesses, so you could travel too, because if you got a job and you're set on a schedule and you only have a few days vacation, then it kind of defeats the purpose a little bit. So it does help if you also own an online business or a home-based business where you can be flexible with your child, and then you could go to the museums and travel when everybody else is in school. It's wonderful. You don't have these big lines and crowds, and usually the prices are better when it's off season or not peak time, so that comes in handy as well. If you have any questions about homeschooling, comment below. I'm sure there's many other homeschoolers who might be watching this that can answer your question if I can't answer, or I could point you in the right direction. I think the people who don't like homeschooling, what I have found from the people I've talked to is I find they have stressed themselves out trying to follow a curriculum or sitting at the desk or the table, and they're like, oh my God, this is too stressful, go back to school. And they're fighting with their kids. There's no reason to fight with your kids. Find out what they want to learn. Don't follow a curriculum if that's going to cause chaos. And I understand. I come from a very strict family, so I know about, you do what I say or else. I taught my kids respect. Just because you're homeschooling and you're open to letting them learn what they're interested in does not mean they can lose respect for others and other people's property. I know some people that are homeschooling and there might be on the extreme side where they want their child to do anything they want. I'm not of that school. I think the kid needs to understand and respect other people. So do your homework, see what's best for your family, because homeschooling's not for everybody. But keep in mind there's many ways to homeschool. Some people, like I said, call it there's unschooling, your traditional homeschooling with a curriculum. There's world schooling where people travel. Oh, check out the Sundance family. They've got 5, 6 child is on its way. They're I'll put their link right here. Sundance family. There's many homeschool families that I love out there. They do it all in different ways. So that's a great way to start, is watching different families homeschooling different ways and see what you like, and have your kids watch these videos with you once they're old enough, and just say, hey, what do you think? However you raise your kids, I respect it, and I wish you the best. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thumbs up if you like it. Share with anybody that you might think would find this of value, and see you next time, and thanks for watching.